And welcome back. So the poultry food industry has amplified its call for classified products to be exempted from value-added tax. President Cyril Ramaphosa revealed an intention to modify the list of food goods that are exempted from VAT. In his opening of a parliament address, he said that this move demonstrated support from the number of political parties for a measure aimed at bringing down food costs for low-income people. However, there have been counter-arguments to the cost this exemption will bear, following a panel investigation from 2018, estimating that this move would cost the fiscus at least R6 billion. Let's now get some perspective now from the chairman of the Association of Meat Importers and Exporters of Southern Africa, Seymour Talpert. Also joining us is researcher at Fair Play Movement, Melinda Shaw. Very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Melinda, let's start off with you. Why are you throwing your weight behind this proposal that has been made by SAPA that we should see an exemption on some poultry goods?
Aldrin, just to correct you there, I'm not with Fair Play. I am the editor of Poultry Bulletin, which is the official mouthpiece of SAPA. So I do know my chicken, and I can explain to you more about that.
Apologies for that. We'll fix it. Sure, you can go ahead.
No problem. You know, we sit in South Africa with the issue of child stunting, where a third of our children don't get enough food or not the right nutrients to grow properly. So we sit with a situation where people are growing up without the protein that they need. And chicken being the most available protein source in South Africa other than eggs, we feel that it's a logical time for the VAT basket to look at that essential foodstuffs rather than look at something like pilchards, which currently is the only animal product other than eggs that is zero rated. Pilchards are mostly imported. They come in tins that are mostly imported, whereas chicken is made in South Africa. It eats South African food. It eats maize that keeps South African farmers in work as well. It's an industry that provides jobs. And most importantly, it is the most widely eaten meat in South Africa. It's the one that's most affordable to the poorest of South Africans and the most accessible. So I think it's time. The last time they really reviewed the basket of essential products that could be VAT zero rated was in 2018. Also, it's not 6 billion to do the call for the kind of chicken that the SAPA is asking for at the moment. It will not cost the fiscus 6 billion. I think it's 2 billion, which is still a lot of billions, more billions than I have in my back pocket. But I think if you look at the people who are not able to access any protein in a country where we are struggling with poverty, we are struggling with hunger, it is time now to really look at that.
Okay, and let's bring Seymour into the conversation. Seymour, very good morning to you as well. What's your response then to this proposal, and in reference to that 2018 VAT panel's report that also rejected some of the proposals that were made to increase the number of food poultry items to the VAT list, exempted VAT list? Just quickly unmute yourself there, Seymour. Okay, let's try again. Yes,
sorry, good morning all.
Yeah,
right, good morning all. Sorry about that. Yeah, we as the Import-Export Association would like to work together for the good of the poorest of the poor, and obviously the South African public as a whole, you know, rich, poor, whatever. Obviously poor is the main concern. Just a small interest thing just before we obviously are in favor of this. We are 100% in favor of no zero-rated VAT on local, and I also will say imported chicken. And the reason I say this is I was in a KwaMashu township a few weeks ago. We were doing a tour of various stores, retailers, and it was the time of the month when people get their pensions and they've got this meager amount of money. They're standing in line, and what really shocked me, because obviously I hadn't seen this directly as I saw this, where I saw a chicken leg that had been sliced on a bandsaw in the service counter. So in other words, the poorest of the poor can't even buy a whole chicken leg, which is actually scary. scary that they can only buy a piece. So I believe whatever we can do to alleviate the poorest of the poor, able to get this protein, which is essential. You know, chicken is the highest per capita consumption of protein in this country, but it's in a dire state at the moment. And, you know, these people who come once a month have got a week where they can come and buy this protein. I think we have to do whatever we can to make it as affordable as possible. You know, and I go with Melinda, you know, feeding kids. I mean, I know chicken liver, for instance, is something that's used in chicken feeding schemes, you know, for young kids. I think it's so important to make this protein, you know, we must put our differences aside and we must work for the good of the country and the good of the poorest of the poor, which unfortunately is a very, very big percentage of our population.
What do you make,
Can I
Seymour?
say something?
Okay, you can go ahead, Melinda. I'll ask the question after. Go ahead.
I want to make the point that, you know, we are saying that I think it was IQF, the individually quick frozen portions that was looked at last time. The panel looked at it and they said that that would cost the fiscus 2 billion rand if that was zero VAT rated. But these people are not buying anything. They are not actually coming to the party and buying anything because they have no money. So to say to the poorest of the poor, they can have certain chicken products. We are not saying chicken breasts and whole chickens and fresh chicken. The idea is to make the most affordable chicken more affordable to the people who need it most. It's the protein of the people. And I think whatever we can do, and I agree with Seymour, you know, we're not saying all chicken. We're not saying, you know, I will obviously always fight for local chicken, Seymour, because that provides South African jobs more than any imported chicken ever will. And it provides feed, and it provides jobs in the feed industry, in the maize industry, in the soya industry. The grain industry is one of the other biggest industries in South Africa. So, but yes, wherever the chicken comes from, we shouldn't say that we want to make more VAT from the poorest of the poor who can barely even buy half a chicken leg.
Yeah. Seymour, with that said, is that a major concern? Also, if you take into consideration that the point that was raised before by the industry was how chicken dumping is impacting local poultry producers, but also on the other end as well, yes, it comes in cheaper. On the other end is the affordability for the poorest of the poor.
Look, when you look at the product on the shelf, as we did a survey, you know, looking at various retailers without mentioning names. We went into all major retailers supplying that market. There is, I believe, you have to give the consumer choice. And, you know, people, I'm not here to rubbish the local poultry industry. I'm a manufacturer myself, a further processor, and I employ 400 people. So I also create jobs. We add value as well, you know, with and we use both local and imported chicken. Sure. We use both, you know, depending on availability. But I think that the big thing of the point of the matter is, I don't want to get into argument but there are times when certain cuts might be in short supply. So, you know, we're not 100% self-sufficient. We've got a great local industry, and as I say, I'm not here to rubbish the local industry because I deal with them myself personally, and I have a good relationship with various players. So personally, I just believe we just have to find a solution that can solve this dire situation. And it really is dire. I mean, as I say, when I was in that township, I was shocked. I was shocked beyond, because I'm in a little bit of, you know, we all tend to be, certain of our population, we're in a bubble and we're not aware of what is going on. And it's shocking. And as I say, particularly the people are eating chicken feet. They're having to turn to other things because they can't eat the real protein. And, you know, chicken shouldn't be a luxury product. It should be something that should be affordable. And as Melinda said, these people get a tiny amount of money. They can come once a month. They can only get a taxi once a month to come and buy these things. It's actually pathetic. And I don't think we realize how bad it is. Yeah. And I believe this is not something that must be debated for months and months. It's something that must be actioned as soon as possible.
So what do you make then to the suggestion that Melinda is putting forward, that zero VAT rate should only apply to local producers?
No, I think it should be on import as well. I think there is certain protections already on imported product, and we really aren't here to destroy the local industry. It's there to supplement it. It's purely there to supplement it. And, you know, Obviously, disease is something we all don't want, but it's a reality. Veterinary disease is a reality, and it strikes everywhere globally. And I think we just have to make sure that food security is such that we don't ever have a shortage of poultry available. I know the local guys have big production, and they're sure that they can supply, but I think we must have a plan B where we can't be short.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are certain cuts that certain times of the year can be in short supply. Look, imports have dropped considerably. They have dropped considerably. And, you know, I think we just have to be adult and, you know, work together and really work together. We've got a government of unity at the moment. Let's all work on the same principle, work for the good of the country.
Melinda, let's hear your reaction to that.
One last
okay.
point, sorry, is that in certain other countries, there are different VAT rates that apply to different products. In Europe, I had a quick squiz this morning. A variety of European countries and other countries will have higher VAT on certain products, and then they have lower VAT on products that are more important to a greater number of people who cannot afford so much. So, you know, that's another thing that can be considered, is to, you know, really, if we want to say why was VAT only increased from 12 to 15, and that's all it does. They didn't remove the VAT off certain essentials, and they can consider, that's another thing that the government could consider, is to bring in where certain luxury products perhaps supplements or sponsors certain essential products, and have a different VAT rate for food as in general, and definitely remove the VAT off the chicken, which is the most affordable protein, and make it the chicken pieces that most people will afford and will actually buy. And we're not talking about the people who can afford to go to Woolworths. We're talking to the people who go to Boxer once a month with their pension to try and buy some protein to feed their kids.
Yeah. Would the exemption of some of the chicken products and poultry products, Melinda, that you are suggesting not have the spillover effect, where people who can actually afford also benefit from the zero VAT rated products?
It probably would. That's why I'm suggesting maybe increase the VAT on other products. That is because it doesn't really matter. Why are we so worried about anybody scoring something when there is a huge percentage of our population who cannot afford to put food on the table for their children? Never mind nutritious food. They feed children pap as if a child can grow up on only pap, when that is not enough nutrition for a child. Protein is essential. And I think, you know, to worry about everybody else benefiting seems to be spiteful to me, rather than to look with concern at the people who really need it most.
Okay. Finally, Melinda, are you confident now that you have a government of national unity, a political party that is in favor of this exemption is the Democratic Alliance, and also the expansion of the zero VAT rated food basket? Are you confident that through the GNU that we could actually see this materialize?
Well, I think we're probably in a better place than we've been before, and I certainly hope that we can rely on our government of national unity, or any other government, to look at what the people need and what the people can benefit from most. And, you know, I'm not in government. I know it's extremely complicated and there are many issues at play. But the fact of the matter is we need to look after the poorest of the poor. And this is the South African industry that makes the most protein and has shown its willingness to contribute to this in a way that is successful. We just had Mandela Day, and I had, through the magazine, I asked 3 of the big producers and 1 of the egg producers to donate food. And they donated tons of chicken and tons and hundreds of eggs to poor people in South Africa. The industry is willing to help and should be given the opportunity to maximize this so that our people can eat protein.
Seymour, let's hear your closing remarks.
Yeah, I will say I'm not a statistician, but I reckon it could be as high as 75% of our population who are in this dire straits, which is a vast amount. People go to sleep at night with no food in their belly. So I think we really have to put all our differences aside and really work for the good of the people, especially the poorest of the poor, and let's find a solution that works for all. And as you say, if one or two of the other people benefit, we must look at the vast majority, because that's who are in dire straits, and it's urgent. It's not something we can debate for months and months. It must be actioned ASP.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much for your time. Chairman of the Association of Meat Importers and Exporters of South Africa, Seymour Talpert, as well as the Poultry Bulletin's editor, Melinda Shaw, making time for us this morning. And as it stands now, chicken is by far South Africa's preferred meat consumption, accounting for around